Hello. Hope everybody's doing all right today. Might be a shorter stream. We'll see. Let me just deal with something first. All right. You know what? Uh, there we go. We glow now. How you doing, Gumbo? You have a crippling addiction to Ball X Pit. Is that what you were talking about yesterday with the roguelike with orbs? I thought you were talking about Peglin. So I don't remember anything of what happened. Oh wait, painters. Good morning. So you're Vera, right? I'm Trucy. Trucy writes. That's right with a W, but not right, right? We're on your side. You can tell us anything. Please? I was gonna talk about my ball pit game, but I left it vague enough to apply to Peglin too. That's fair. So I'm guessing the finals is no longer your crippling addiction. Good morning. She speaks. Not bad, not bad. But I think you do better with a little smile, you know? You're so pretty. You need to sell yourself, you know? They both have the place? That's fair. I'm just gonna wait till the next season. Is the esports shit going on? Are they actually gonna fucking make buffs and nerfs and shit? Trucy, let's take it easy for starters. Thank you for taking my case. Oh, that's adorable. Okay, well, that's a start, I guess. She goes with the nail polish again. It's great, really. It's so cultured. Want to try? Hello, Firefall. Hope you're doing alright. Ooh, really? Yeah, girls. The victim, Drew Misham, was a forger, and a stolen painting was found in his studio. A life of crime, really. And maybe one that led to his death. Well, we will now begin the trial of Vermisham. Is the judge okay? His voice is all raspy and he's looking around all nervous like. The repercussions of today's trial will most likely be felt for a long time. It may indeed alter our legal system forever. Today is a test of the juris system. First step towards a new order in our courts. And a secret mission. The jurists will function like a jury. It is hoped that their inclusion will help the courts to better reflect the people's will. Why aren't there any jurists in the courtroom? 3 closed-circuit cameras watch this courtroom at all times. Jurists have access to everything that transpires. Jurists, judge well and judge cool. Now see here, Prosecutor Gavin. I was going to say that. My apologies, Herr Judge. Jurist, today, judge today's trial coolly, if you would be so kind. Jurists are unbound by the letter of the law. They don't affect the trial with evidence, but by their feelings. I'm about to find out just what effect they're going to have. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin. The details of the case, if you would. The victim is the painter Drew Misham. He was killed in his own studio. His coffee was poisoned. By whom, you ask? By none other than the defendant, Vera Misham.
Objection!
There wasn't any poison in the coffee. Pung, someone has been doing their homework. Indeed, poison was not present in the coffee, but on the mug itself. Mug? Ah, residue was found in the room, I see. The autopsy report describes the manner of our victim's death. The court accepts this as evidence. According to this report, the victim's death was caused by atroquinine poisoning. A chemical compound that does not occur naturally. Lethal dosage is a mere 0.002 milligrams. Shit, this is real? I want to see. It is not real. Okay. Touch of atroquinine in the body is the touch of the Reaper's sight. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin. You may present your witness. I have for you today a simple man, or a simple case. A man who witnessed the murder in its entirety. A journalist, no doubt. The witness will state his name and occupation. Ah, right. Well, for starters, my name's Spark Brushall. My job is a lone observer of the world. In other words, a freelance journalist, right? If you don't mind, I'd like to state something here for the record. What the fuck? I had it work. God damn it. Why? You've got to set up an auto reload. Anyways, how you doing, Kyomo? In other words, he's unemployed, Your Honor.
Fish.
There you go. It's better, but I'm alive? Well, if you need to talk about it, feel free. No pushing, of course. It's Mr. Brushel? I dislike conclusions, specifically the aspect of jumping to conclusions. Preconceptions make park sandbox of endless desert waste. End quote. But you are a journalist. You said so yourself yesterday. Well, that's true, yes. But you must understand, I stand before you today a man with a dream. I'm offering you my testimony in exchange for exclusive rights to the story. Scoop turns Mr. Brushel into that Mr. Brushel. End quote. Let's hear your testimony then, shall we? A simple case, eh, Gavin? For me, the jury is still out. Visited the studio around 9 that night to do the interview. First outsider to enter the atelier, journalistic history made, end quote. His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. You know what happened next? Star falls, end quote. No one else entered the room besides her the whole time. That does sound like a simple case. Unless you were the one who poisoned him. What? What are you saying? Judge. You never mind you, the cameras are rolling today. I felt the need to be a bit dramatic. You didn't do it, did you? Me do a thing like that? Come on, that's like newsmaker making the news, end quote. Or even contemporary witch hunt, end quote. I know, wild accusations rock courtroom, end quote. Aha, rock indeed. Prosecutor Gavin sure looks like he's having fun. I'm so happy for him. Very well, Mr. Justice, your cross-examination, please. I was pressing the wrong button. And at night, isn't it a little late for an interview? The great painter Drew Missum says come at 9 o'clock. Believe you me, I go at 9 o'clock. First, as it turned out, the last interview with such a prolific painter. Right. Can you tell us what it was like when you arrived? First, I was headed to enter the atelier. You're the first reporter ever in Drew's studio? Prosperity will look back on that night as a turning point in journalistic history. A basically insignificant step for all mankind. But a giant step for that Brushel guy, end quote. If no one on the outside ever had access to the studio, then it would serve to reason that the deed was done by an insider. By which he means Vera did it. So how did this epoch-making interview go? His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. Would you mind being a little bit more specific? Ooh-wee, let me tell you, I enjoy a cuppa. In fact, it all began when I was right in 3rd grade. That's not what I meant. I believe I know what Hair Forehead is driving at. This coffee the victim was served. Did anyone other than the defendant touch it? Right, that's what I was gonna say, really. Well, now, if you got a question to ask, you best straight up ask for it. That's what I tell all the new recruits, several times if necessary. Right for a grade schooler. That's my motto. Which isn't... Okay. Who touched the coffee? No. I was in the back looking at the studio's equipment when she served it. And what happened next? And you know what happened next. Star falls, unquote. What's this about a star falling? Star falls, huh? It's like an old telegram. Send money over. Zowie, you don't know? That's like a journalism code word. Important personage passes away. A star falls. Get it? There's no gravity in space, is there? I wouldn't think stars could fall, really. Does this matter? Oh boy, this is good stuff, good stuff. How about star breaks? Nah, lacks punch. I know, star dies. Nah. Lacks imagination. Of course, you could go with Drew dies, straight to the point. I like it. I think we need to hear about something a little bit more substantial. Let's go for the moment of death. About when Mr. Mission passed away. Oh boy, what a scene that was. He puts his coffee mug down with a crash, right? Yes, and then? Then the cold finger of death touches his spine. Life's flame sputters and fails. So cold was that touch, he could do naught but tremble uncontrollably. Actually, life's flame is a little tired. Life's river froze over. Yes, that's a go. I think he's starting his article already. Could you describe it simply? Sorry. Well, as you can imagine, I was pretty surprised. He hit the floor, as I say. Artist Seashore's final performance. End quote. A troquinine paralyzes the central nervous system. The body arches back like a bow. The limbs tremble, but that's quite enough of that. I almost want to be able to sleep tonight. Oh yeah? I want details. Lots of juicy details. That'll look better. Yup. Holy crap. With that, you can listen to our last year's hit single, A Troquinine My Love by the Gaviners, available at all music outlets. The point here is that the victim died of a troquinine poisoning. Mr. Justice, how did you find that testimony? Very important. Well, as an account of the moment of the victim's death, I'd say it's very important. Please add it to the testimony. Very well, the court requested the witness to add this account to his testimony. You say it was definitely death by poison. How can you be so sure? Hey look, I'm a journalist. I've seen a lot of things. And I've had more than my share of experiences with so-called poisonings. And eats fishy fish, goes bye-bye, end quote. Food poisoning doesn't count. Should I get him to talk about something else? You say Mr. Misham had the coffee too. But did you actually see him drink the coffee? Of course. He who sees it wins, but he who says it wins bigger. End quote. Well, I live in a man sees dog eat dog and writes about it world. Yet? I guess I can't say I saw him drink it, really. He had one so-called sip, if that. And puts lips to mug, drinks, end quote. That poison's quite virulent, I hear. My stomach did a so-called somersault. Since I'd gulped down that coffee without so much as a second glance at it. Wait, maybe something's there. Some kind of so-called trick. And one adventure, I guess? for the record. Does this guy have a pause button? Well, Mr. Justice, did you find that testimony valuable? Sure. Victim drank his coffee, then immediately fell over. Oh, yes, yes. You can go to press with that one. Your Honor, this is a vital piece of information. Please add it to the testimony. Very well, the witness will add this to his testimony. Vital, right. He had one sip, if that. The next moment, he was on the floor.
Hold it!
So he either took a sip or he didn't, and then fell over? Oh yes, indubitably. Just like that. Wham bam. So Mr. Mishram drank the coffee and then fell over immediately. I think Brush was telling the truth too. Should I get him to talk about something else? So, you drank the coffee that Vera served you too? Of course. When someone serves you coffee, you drink it. That's what my old boss always used to say. Never did get what he meant by it, though. But you're still alive, which is to say you didn't die. Of course not. No point falling before you're a star, end quote. That's not exactly what I was getting at. What were you getting at, then? You know the poison was on the rim, not in the coffee. Oh yes, yes. Two cups on the tray she brought. One of the cups had Drew's signature painted on the side. No chance the guest would take that one by mistake, I guess. Well, Mr. Justice, was that testimony important? Very important. We're talking about the coffee the witness drank. I'd say that is important. Very well, please add that to the testimony, Mr. Brushel. Drank the coffee too, but I'm not dead yet. Sure you drank the coffee? Oh yes, yes, quite. I gulped it down and felt that sweet scorch in my throat. But you see the victim took one sip and fell over. You still kept drinking? Of course. Drink your coffee when it's hot, never when it's not. That's what my old boss used to always say. Never really knew what he meant by it. Should I get him to talk about something else? Let's just go with what we have for now. Can you say that for sure? For sure? Sure. I'm sure. Your studio isn't that big of a place, kiddo. I'd know it if someone else had come in. What if they had been hiding there in there from before?
Objection!
Even if someone had been hiding in the studio. They hardly could have poisoned that mug without anybody noticing. You think I, Spark Brushel, would miss something as obvious as that? No way. Sure makes it sound exciting. I guess that's his job. Only one moment we need to focus on, really. Moment when Drew Mishram died? Exactly. There has to be something there. So I'm just gonna skip through. Sorry. Slow-acting deadly poison.
Objection!
Fuck.
Objection!
God damn it. No. No. Not for Kitty. Wait. Hello, tiny toast. Kitty full of lick.
Hold it! Objection!
There we go. You know what I have a problem with? A particular property of the poison used, atroquinine. Oh, Prosecutor Gavin was quite clear about the poison. A lethal dosage of 0.002 milligram paralyzes the central nervous system. You drank that, even you, Mr. Justice, would be reduced to a quivering pile. Why are you using me as an example? Fortunately, we weren't told everything. There's a vital omission in Prosecutor Gavin's information. An omission? Atroquinine is a virulent, as he says. But death doesn't come upon the ingestion. Not immediately. That's because atroquinine is a slow-acting. Slow-acting. What? According to one forensic scientist, it's one of the most virulent poisons, but it's absorbed into this body astonishingly slowly. It takes at least 15 minutes from the time of ingestion for adverse effects to show. If we suppose that the moment Mr. Mishram sipped the coffee was when he sealed his fate, he would still have had time left to enjoy his last cup of joe. Order, order. What's the meaning of this? Sorry, I need a sip. If what the defense says is correct, why, that contradicts the entire testimony we've just heard. Well, Mr. Brushel, anything to say on the record? Slow acting. Slow act. It was virulent, all right. Even then, it had already beginning digging its claws into the journalist. He's working on his scoop. Yeah.
Objection!
It's Brushel, yeah? Herr Brushel, let's take a trip back down memory lane. Okay. Did the victim really die the instant he took a sip? Think it over. This is vital. You know what I think? I think that was a not-so-subliminal suggestion, end quote. I admit, it does cause a problem if he died when you say he did. I'll be forced to say Auf Wiedersehen to my simple case. And you would be forced to say farewell to your article. Come again? Can't write a story based on conjecture, can you? As the case drags on, other reporters will pick up the scent. And you'll be forced to kiss your exclusive scoop goodbye. Scoop, scoop. Look, wait. Just wait a second. Just 1 second. We're waiting. Out with it. I think I just recalled a so-called important detail. A revival of recollection, end quote. A story survival, end quote. Attorney utterly confused, end quote. Actually, I did notice something when I visited the studio. I heard of poison that takes its sweet time, see? But not what I've been saying for the last few minutes, apparently. Mr. Brushel, are you saying you noticed something that explains what happened? Bet I am. Antidote for a poisonous contradiction, end quote, you might say. Or, I still have no idea what you're talking about, end quote, I might say. I figured it out, but only after an in-depth interview. See, thanks to my journalism skills, I know who poisoned that coffee. Order, order, order. As far as I can tell, the witness is standing by his testimony. That Mr. Misham died on the instant after he drank. Of course I'm standing by my testimony. In my dream of exclusive rights to this story. Ah. I suppose it was too much to hope for. What was? Of course he wouldn't choose a simple case. Not him. Him? Phoenix Wright. Who else? Tongue Hair Brushel. Report for us if you would. What is it that you noticed? Sport is a critical trial of the juris system. I'm afraid no more room for doubt is permissible. You will testify to the court about what you noticed. As my streaks say, rest in peace. Rest in peace, little chick streaks. When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Misham was at his desk. He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. I thought of nothing of it at the time, of course. And Gumbo out here just fucking streak shaming. Anyways, little chick, how you doing? Thought of nothing of it at the time, of course. Now that I think about it, what if he was writing a suicide note? Okay. And a suicide note? Yes, he had this look on his face. Man's face inscrutable as a quadratic equation, end quote. God, I hated it, quadratic equations. Suicide. Or Mr. Misham. That means Vera's innocent. Did someone commit suicide in the middle of an interview? Oh. Very well, you may begin your cross-examination. When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Misham was at his desk. Was there anyone at the studio other than Mr. Misham? Well, his daughter Vera, of course. Was anyone besides Mr. Misham and Vera present? Not a single one. Not a cat, not a rat, not even a mouse. The only person who didn't belong to that studio there was you, wasn't it, Mr. Brushel? Ah, I know what you're doing. I know your game. Attorney uses classic Ramsden phenomenon ploy. End quote. Ramsden phenomenon? It's nothing. You intend to suggest that this reporter is a suspect. I'm sure you also intend to present evidence supporting that assertion, correct? In the meantime, let's move along, shall we? He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. So he put the letter away when he saw you? Early reporter gets worm. End quote. That's my secret. I'm not sure I follow. It's the night of the interview. I arrive 15 minutes ahead of schedule. The handle turns, the door opens, and I barge in. Are you sure that's okay to do? I mean, isn't that all unlawful entry, really? Mr. Misham sure seemed to think so. Just seen him. Crammed his letter into that yellow envelope as fast as he could. Yellow. I know a secret when I spot one, and that was one. It does seem significant. Well, Mr. Justice, I wonder. It doesn't have the ring of something important. Defense finds his testimony vital, Your Honor. Very well. Please add it to the testimony, then. Hey, why not? My account comes free in charge. It was a yellow envelope. I heard it was left at the crime scene. You saw him seal this yellow envelope with a letter? Hey, don't look at me like that. I saw what I saw. Paul, you think this might be our big break? Yeah. What I need to do is show some decisive evidence now. As it just so happens, there was a single letter in a desk drawer at the scene. In a red envelope. What? Prosecutor Gavin. Yes? Was a yellow envelope found at the scene of the crime? Fortunately, no. Red hair forehead. It's easy to mistake the color of an envelope. I guess. But not this envelope. You see, it was postmarked already. 7 years ago. Well, Mr. Brushel? I can explain that. True, right? You wanted to get that letter in an envelope, pronto. Get it out of sight. Sorry, get it out of sight of my beady eyes, right? So he grabbed the nearest envelope and crammed away. What about the whole red and yellow envelope contradiction, chump? Well, Mr. Justice, have you anything to say to the witness's claim? That night, the victim put a letter he had been writing in a red envelope. It's impossible because it wasn't the letter he was writing. It's impossible. Ah, I like your expression. So full of confidence. Simple, really. As it just so happens, the defense team investigated the contents of this envelope with the assistance of a forensic scientist. Notice that this letter is addressed to Drew Misham. Oh? Why would he address a letter to himself? Let alone send a suicide note to himself. I've been scooped! Scoop, there it is! Order, order, order! Mr. Brushel, can you explain this to the court? Oh my, my, my. How could I have forgotten? I suppose this happens to the best of us. Reporter gets old, forgets lots. End quote. I'm still waiting for an explanation, Mr. Brushel. Why do we have goofy music? Oh, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching for his desk drawer for something. His desk drawer? Yes, a stamp. A so-called postage stamp, end quote. Stamp. Whatever for. Well, to mail his letter, what else? And then why yes, I think I saw him put it in his letterbox. Yes, it was a yellow envelope. He put it in that box. Apparently, this yellow letter has nothing to do with the case. Oh, how I wish it did. Just think if that were a suicide note. What a story. Star writes suicide note in front of reporter. Falls. End quote. As I was saying, that has nothing to do with this case. That said, yes, Your Honor? Makes me wonder about the contents of that red envelope. $100,000 is quite a good deal of money. So this was from 7 years ago, yeah? So, am I finished? Here, I mean. Am I finished here? I was thinking of, you know, going home to start writing. I hate to say what should be pretty obvious to anyone. But when you catch a scent of a story, you make that, rather unique face. Come on. Attorney has active imagination, little else. End quote. Even I noticed something, and my eyes aren't what they used to be. You know, I'm starting to understand what all this perceiving stuff is about. Mhm. Stop dragging that. Fuck. The judge perceives. Judge's active imagination. End quote. Please continue with your testimony. Tell us about the scent of a story. Hey, I'm the one asking the questions here. Usually. Actually, it took a bit of a work to get a thumbs up on the interview. Reporter leverages story, gets his interview, end quote. The story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. That red envelope probably had something to do with it. Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare. So you threatened to go to press with the story? That's how you got your interview? Blackmail? Well, yes. I mean, no. No. It wasn't exactly black. I mean, I'm not... Something wrong, Mr. Brushel? Look. This is my story, my tidbits. Journalist's info is livelihood, end quote. I see. While you have me chatting away in here, what's going on out there? What if some Wally Wordsworth or Sally Scooper gets wind of my story? They could be going to press while I'm going to waste. The court feels your pain, Mr. Brushel. Mr. Justice, let's pick up the pace. Certain case 7 years ago. Wait. 7 years ago? Actually, it took a bit of work to get a thumbs up on the interview. Reporter leverages story, gets his interview, end quote. The story is concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. Oh. Oh. Keep fucking pressing right click. Alright, you know, let's push a bit. Oops. Certain case 7 years ago? Tell us, what case? Let me state one thing, Mr. Attorney, and you can quote me on this. I can't talk about that case. Why not? It's about journalistic pride and staunchness and credibility and connections. Journalists reveal sources only over his dead body, end quote. So will it be? Gonna strangle me? Dead don't tell tales, Mr. Attorney. It sounds pretty determined not to talk. Chances of breaking his will aren't looking good. The victim, Drew Misham, had an aversion to reporters? Boy, I guess. Not even my considerable charms did much for him. Holy fuck, I'm still dropping frames, man. So I finally got my thumbs up, that is. Maybe you can elaborate that on a bit for us? What to leverage his story, gets his interview, end quote. Exactly what sort of story was this? Oh, a little one, like I said. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing in between, end quote. I might have suggested I had a lead on this particular story. But I didn't threaten or cajole or nothing. Honest. So a suggestion was enough to get an interview? Mr. Misham really must have wanted to keep it under wraps. As we're concerned, a certain case from 7 years ago. On the one hand, we have your story, and on the other, this letter. What makes you think the two are related? Oh, I was just saying it's possible. Call it reporter's intuition, end quote. Hey, I say a lot of things. You're gonna pick apart all of them apart? Be my guest. All of them? No, just incredibly suspicious ones. I see. Anything else to add about Mr. Misham? Testimony left a bad taste in my mouth. All makes sense. Nothing jumps out as ridiculous. I wonder what his story is he's talking about is. Must have been good to get an interview with a famous recluse like that. I'm powerful enough to drag Drew Misham out of hiding. I wonder. Maybe it's had something to do with Mr. Misham's art? You see we're making progress? Slowly but surely. I do, newbie. Oops.
Hold it!
Started a case 7 years ago? Tell us, what case? Let me say one thing, Mr. Attorney, and you can quote me on this. I can't talk about that case. Why not? It's about journalists...
Hold it! Hold it!
Just how amazing was Mr. Misham's talent? Huh? Hoo-wee boy, I mean, hey, he's a star, man, a star. The flow of his brush is like a great undulating river across the canvas. Russell is definitely a character. He's too many characters. Sorry, give me a second. Artist paints light up the studio like sun, end quote. This guy is full of wacky gestures. But that one just now was wackier than usual. He looks kind of nervous to me, Apollo. Definitely. I'm sensing something different than before here. Maybe it's time to bring out you-know-what. It's creepy, newbie. Like, it's uncanny. Oh.
Gotcha!
Finally. Sweat much, Mr. Brushel? Yeah, well... Man can't help his glands, you know? It's more than that. When Mr. Misham's talent was mentioned, he suddenly began to sweat buckets. You're hiding something about his talents. What? That's ridiculous. Evidence time? Let's show where Mr. Misham's true talent lay. Just so happens I have evidence showing the talent mentioned in that letter.
Take that!
Oops. I can't help but wonder what the court is supposed to conclude from this evidence. Oh. Other than that, you made a horrible mistake? And burns bridge, forgets to cross first, end quote. Let's try that again. All I have to do is reveal what Mr. Misham really was. That shouldn't be so hard, right?
Take that!
This painting was found in Mr. Misham's studio. There are two problems with this painting. The first is that it wasn't painted by Mr. Misham. The second is that there was another painting in the studio, which looked exactly like this one, except it was only half done. We have a letter discussing a payment of 100,000, which is just a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries. That is all, Your Honor. Everyone, please, everyone. Can we keep this private, please? This is my story, my scoop. Forgery. That's a serious crime. Drew Mishram is known as an artist these days. There were rumors he dabbled in another kind of art until a few years back. Another art meaning forgery? Drew Mishram was talented, alright. Talented at making precise, detailed forgeries. The fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover. Criminal elements? What? Can't seriously be talking about. Exactly. I'm talking about forging evidence. Rumors started circulating 7 years ago. 7 years ago? So are we to understand that this letter, this payment of $100,000 was for? Exactly. Forged evidence nets tidy profit, end quote. Order, order, order! Why, it's like our victim was living a double life. Aha! This is my chance. So the victim had ties to the criminal world, right? He could have had plenty of enemies we knew nothing about.
Objection!
This is my first time hearing of this criminal world. We certainly found no criminal connections when we concluded our investigation.
Objection!
How do you explain all this money? You have to admit there's a possibility of some illegal activity here.
Objection!
But there's no proof tying this letter to our case. Our case was, and remains, simple from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned that mug that night. And you, of course. Hey, the only thing I poison is my pen. I'm writing interviews. I forgot to ask, how you doing, newbie? Mr. Brushell, your testimony to this point has been quite unreliable. Doesn't speak well of your reporting acumen. What are you talking about? My journalism is rock solid. Journalism so solid you can stand an elephant on it, end quote. In any case, let's hear a summarized recap of your testimony. If we can ascertain the situation in that studio from the recap, the trial is over. Paula, what's he talking about? Cross-examination showed Mr. Brussel didn't have a reason or means to poison him. So as long as there's no other suspects. Then the killer had to be Vera, that's what. This next testimony was our last chance. Mr. Brushell, your testimony, please. IB default amount to terrible. So, you're alright? Question mark? The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She's admitted as much as herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. Nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly, the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter. Nice testimony. Clear, succinct, and without room for doubt. Aw, shucks. You really think so? I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice, you may begin your final cross-examination. Right. I still have one trump card left to play. And I won't let this trial end until I use it. Are you winning, son? Kinda. I'm very dozy right now. How about you, Vimo? The only person in the studio that then I was defendants.
Hold it!
You're sure about that? Well, to be really, really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies the whole time. Just got home time to feed my addiction.
Objection!
Which one? At the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragrances of mint filled the room. Pyres? Okay. Let me know if you get anything good. And no mint residue was found. It was a long shot anyway. Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than the coffee? Well, Mr. Justice, you have some proof. Possibility is there. I can feel it. Just maybe not prove it, but not yet. Vimo's in the finals. Shame him. Shame the Vimo. Sorry about fried chicken, and I was just sharing with my brother. Messaging him, telling him what he can take. Possibility isn't going to cut it, not now. Mr. Misham's ingested the poison via a route other than coffee. Prove it. Proof is possible. I gotta risk it. Oh, excellent. Let's see your proof then. Please show us your evidence. What evidence shows that the victim wasn't poisoned via his coffee mug?
Take that!
Fuck. Must I explain this over and over? We don't need possibilities here, Herr Forehead. We need proof. I know that. You should all know that every proof has its moments. Perhaps you're a bit early? I can tell you what we know at this point. The victim put nothing to his mouth but that coffee mug. Another hole in this case that needs plugging before I can prove anything. First things first, I better uncover a weak spot before I try to strike again. Oh, thank fuck they didn't penalize me for that.
Hold it!
Not one thing? You sure? Yep, sure can be. Well, with one exception. An exception? What? Journalist Brushel does interview. Leave studio. End quote. Come on. It's a joke, get it? Not funny, I know, but still. Did something leave the studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Why have I heard something like that before? Now that we've proven our witness is a comedian of sorts, I'd like to turn to our defense attorney before returning to the testimony. Do you have any idea what, if anything, might have left the studio that night? I think one thing that might very well have left the studio that night, actually. A certain something that has vanished from the crime scene. By which you mean something other than our witness? Of course. Well, tell me, Baramisham? Believe me, any comic relief I may provide is entirely unintentional. Then let's see what you've got for us, Mr. Justice. Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show it to you. But I do have evidence that shows where it could have been taken from the scene.
Take that!
This is the only link between that studio and the outside world. A letterbox? What did Mr. Brushel just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter. Yeah, I said that. And yeah, it was true. Furthermore, you went on to tell us you put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in the letterbox. Ah! So the very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night, the yellow envelope disappeared.
Objection!
Ah, yes, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing. Huh? He has a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Misham. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappear? Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave the studio that night. That seems very important to me. Alright, well then the witness will add this to his testimony. You got it. I still think this fails to change anything here, Forehead. I wouldn't be so sure. A letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. This is exactly the opening I've been looking for. The letter was put in the post from the studio, but I hardly think that matters. Nothing could be more serious than an envelope disappearing from that studio. You were hiding that fact from us. Yes, well, actually... Excuse me. Oh, Elohim. Therefore, Ed, isn't there a much more serious question before us? Right, how Mr. Misham was poisoned, I know. But Mr. Brush's testimony has changed, which means the facts of the case have too. Priest told us means there's something entirely different now. I'm starting to think. Let's keep thinking, Apollo.
Hold it! Objection!
You do understand what we need, yeah? Proof, therefore, Ed. Not possibilities. Of course. And Prosecutor Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof. What did you say? I have proof of the disappearing envelope. I saw him writing a letter. I did. It was picked up by the mailman, I assume? Of course, which means that envelope has a stamp on it. A stamp. Ah! As we all know, stamps come with dried glue on the back. In order to use the glue, you have to wet it. By licking the stamp.
Objection!
Heh. No one worth talking to actually licks stamps in this day and age.
Objection!
Even if you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all.
Objection!
Okay, so he licked the stamp, but wait. How does that explain the troquinho in the room of the coffee mug?
Objection!
He licked the back of a poison stamp. The poison would get on his tongue, yes? What would then happen if the coffee mug, put the coffee mug to his mouth, Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing. It was the other way around. Coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Misham. Mr. Misham poisoned the coffee mug himself. And now the coffee mug is dead. Order, order, order! But that does it? Recall, if you would. Troquinine is a slow-acting poison, yes? The poison entered his body when he put the stamp on that envelope. But his time wasn't up until the very moment he touched his lips to that cup of joe. You have something to add, Mr. Brushel? Uh-oh. His nose is picking up another scent. As I believe I mentioned earlier. Well, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in that envelope. Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. Yes, a stamp. A so-called postage stamp, end quote. Well, you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one. Maybe he just run out? Incidentally, we searched the desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There were no stamps. Not a single one. That does pose a problem. How do you prove that the stamp was coated with poison? Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. Makes proving the stamp he used was poison possible. Good show, good show. Can't even prove there was a stamp at the scene of the crime in the first place. Well, let's hear what the defense has to say anyway. Where's your evidence that proves the existence of the poison stamp?
Take that!
Well, that certainly is a cute little frame. And by little, I mean really little. It was on the victim's desk, Your Honor. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself. I was that too during my inspection. So what? Apparently you weren't as observant as you should have been. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important. Missing something? Yes, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. A troquinine residue. What? Why wasn't I told about this? The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller. Maybe an inch wide at most. You aren't saying... Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps? Order, order, order! The poison stamp was in this frame? Impossible. Prosecutor Gavin. Why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mood struck. You know, can I say something? I had a thought, see? What, Mr. Brushel? And please stop jittering around like that. The victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemy too. Quiet? Too, end quote. So the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon aimed at him.
Objection!
Oh, rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous flights of fancy to the Gaviner's song lyrics, please. Fine, it's something we can agree on. The stamp was a murder weapon? Nonsense. Murder's a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? No one. Oh, I disagree. Come again? Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. Through mission hid from the world, he avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail. My fucking thing keeps disconnecting. I'll be right back. Did I drop stream? How you doing, Severed? The mail. Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, but you knew red letters, stamp would be the perfect weapon. How's stream go? Stream go good. Fucking nosy though. So whenever this this witness is done, I think I'm gonna call it. Ridiculous. Where's your proof? I want proof. Show us evidence that this poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon. I might not have evidence, per se. Things are finally starting to come together. What is it, Paula? The fists are trembling. I think I know what happened. I don't believe it, but I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Mission was killed. Well, fill us in, Mr. Justice. A certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honor. I can show you how someone with the intent to... I can show you how someone with the intent to kill sent Mr. Mission the stamp of death. Isn't this the envelope? The one from 7 years ago? Think about the text of the letter again. There were 2 pages in the envelope. This page is 1. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send it in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honor. Ah. In other words, if I have this straight, stamp, poison, on the stamp, lick, lick, gasp, end quote. Now what if he had done exactly as the letter asks? He would sign the document, put it in the envelope, and then put the stamp on it, right? Then he would put it in his letterbox. 15 minutes wouldn't have elapsed between affixing the stamp and mailing the letter. The clock started ticking, and when the time came, he drew his last breath. And the murder weapon would be taken away from the scene. Quite conveniently, thanks to the postal system. Such a splendid imagination you have here, Forehead. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I might. So this poison stamp was inside this envelope from the 7 years ago. Is that what you'd have us believe? Really? Well... a little bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility. Yeah, it's a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? Poison stamp in this envelope? A stamp that then became the murder weapon? How do you tend to prove this seeming coincidence? Well, it was 7 years ago, and we don't even know who sent that letter. And your answer is silence. I see. Very well, I move to... It's not nice to pick on the Fraulein Clavier. Emma. What the fuck was the other guy doing there? Christoph, I think? Well, like my Christoph Gavin impression? I sound like him? Don't quit your day job. Don't you have a crime scene to be looking after, Fraulein Detective? Someone had to come dig you out all the mess you're making of this case. Mess? You know, none of this would happen if you just trust in science a little more. You can find out if that stamp was in that envelope easy. Care to explain yourself, Fraulein Detective? Gotta be all you want, but science is on my side. It's all in the residue, right? That's right, the poison detection spray. Produce the red envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court. Well, would you look at that? No mistaking it. That's a troquinium residue. Oh, I don't believe it. A murder weapon from the past. Now 7 years later, it bears its fangs at last.
Objection!
Absolutely outrageous. Tell me why. Why didn't this murder take place 7 years ago? Well, there's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Misham figured it out. Figured what out? He realized that the person who sent that letter wanted him dead. So he sent his reply with a different stamp. I put his decisive evidence in the frame. Ack, you're still here? Can I make a statement here on the record? I, Spark Razortooth Brushall, claim this scoop as mine. Drew Misham killed in cold blood. By sender of 7-year-old letter. End quote. No, maybe something more succinct. Star falls after 7-year delay. End quote. Order, order, order! I see no room for further argument here. Though I admit this is all coming as quite a shock. To think that the murder weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp his ticket straight to afterlife, end quote. Uh-oh. I think the witness is a bad influence on our judge. I see no need for further debate on this matter. The sender of that letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant. Apollo! I think we just won. Right, well, this court finds the defendant.
Objection!
Is this the bright future of our legal system? Prosecutor Gavin? A ticket to the afterlife from 7 years ago? Tickets for Gaviner's shows are invalid after 2 weeks. But it doesn't make sense any other way. Boggles my... I hate this guy. Which this guy here? You missed Brushall. I think I've said this before. Yeah, you have said this before several times. I think every time he shows up and you're in my stream, you talk about how much you hate this guy. Anyways, how you doing, Marine? What goes my mind that so many people haven't noticed this? There's a fatal contradiction in therefore its claim. Contradiction? Poison stamp was placed in this envelope 7 years ago. Whereupon it was framed until now. If that's the case, then why would Drew Misham have done what he did? Explain that. He must have realized it was poisoned. Therein lies the rub. Rub. 7 years ago, the forger Drew Misham sensed a trap and put the stamp in a frame. Do not debate this, but this begs the question. Why, 7 years later, did he use that stamp on the night of the murder? Ah. Clearly you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Misham simply forgot. He put the murder weapon in a frame on his desk for 7 years and forgot? You expect us to believe he's spraying the trap on himself? Buddy was too lazy to go buy a stamp. I mean, no offense, Marie, he didn't leave the house at all. Keep in mind, this was a time before, like, Amazon delivery, so Polly was very close to starving to death, too. See, too lazy. Alright, Marine gets it. Marine's won the all 6 Ace Attorney games. Congrats, Marine. Proud of you. I'll admit, this is all quite shocking myself. It does seem highly unlikely that he would fall afoul of a trap that had been sitting on his desk for 7 years. Apollo, I don't think we're winning anymore. I'm glad to see we're all back in the real world now. Welcome back to reality. We've been waiting for you.
Objection!
Okay, then how do you explain the poison stamp that was in this envelope? The poison stamp? Where exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it to court for us? I see no proof that such a thing ever existed. There's 6 of them? Yeah, there's the first Phoenix Wright trilogy, which I did play. And then there's these the Apollo Justice trilogy. There's 2 Great Ace Attorney Chronicles games. There's 2 Edgeworth games. And then there's Professor Layton and Phoenix Wright crossover. So let's see. 3, 2, 2. $11 approximately. Actually, let me search up. Yeah, there's apparently 11. Three, 4, 5, 6. Oh, apparently you can get the Phoenix Wright trilogy on your phone. But yeah, there's more than 6.
Objection!
What about the atropine residue, huh? Oh, I agree. That does seem to be a troquinine residue. But hair forehead, it's certainly no stamp. Yeah, but even if your precious poison stamp did exist, your Bishop never would have used it. That was all. I believe we've come to a conclusion. Again. Apollo, we're in the wrong hole. Were we wrong the whole time? I can't believe it. The poison traces match up. It can't be coincidences. I'd like to bring some closure to this issue sometime this year. Mr. Justice? Yes, Your Honor? Let's review the facts and see where we stand. 7 years ago, Drew Missum received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison atroquinine on the document inside that envelope. A similar trace was also found at the crime scene, on this tiny picture frame. The defense has indicated that the possibility of a yellow envelope. An envelope that left the scene of the crime with a poison stamp on it. Yes, but even this envelope contained a poison stamp. And Drew Misham, knowing this, put it in a frame. He never would have used that stamp. I'm afraid you're right. Which means there was a fatal flaw in the defense's case. I haven't been on the wrong track this whole time. I'm sure of it. Traces of a troquinine, the envelope, the frame, and Drew Missum's mysterious death. Connected somehow. Well, Mr. Justice, do you have a conclusion for us? The defense stands by its case, Your Honor. We've seen that the logical outcome of the evidence makes no sense. Which means that one of our clues must be a fake. Ah, a fake clue? Fascinating. And if we find this fake, your wild fantasies will prove quite reasonable, yeah? The fake clue that's thrown us off the poison's trail is none other than... Maybe Marine? But something about Drew being a fucking clue is what's throwing me off here. Okay, so let me think this through. If it's the red envelope, why would he have framed a poison stamp anyways? If it was the frame, and the evidence suggests no. It's so early. This is before you. Early in this case, he sent a yellow envelope, but a red one is found in his desk. But he used the stamp from the red envelope on the yellow envelope, and then sent the yellow envelope, and then he died. Yeah, he did. Because Drew Misham licked the stamp, put the stamp on the yellow envelope, and then sent that. Upon licking that stamp, he poisoned himself. Oh! What if it wasn't addressed to Drew Misham? Like the red envelope wasn't addressed to Drew Misham. What if it was addressed... The letter says it, but what if the letter was never opened by him? Can you look at the frame too? Sure. What gives with all the blue? Yeah, that's... So basically, there's a spray that you spray on things. That's what, like, it detects where the poison is. So it's there and on this mug. So my thinking is, what if Drew never read the letter? He never would have thought that someone was after him. Let's try it. The victim was a fake clue? I'm afraid I don't understand. I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame, and a mug linked by poison. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself.
Objection!
Congratulations, you've completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, the forger? Makes a good story, I'll give you that. The fake clue. Fakes. Forgeries. Ah! I know that face. That's the I just had an idea face. I don't know if I'm right, but I'm gonna go with it anyway. What if our forger is the fake? Come again? 7 years ago, our forger sniffed a trap and stepped aside. 7 years passed. Now the forger stumbles into that very same trap and dies. Why? That's what I want to know. Because the forger who was killed was a fake. Here we are again. The victim was a fake? One forger smelled the trap. One forger fell into the trap. That's two forgers, and one of them was a fake. Order! 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 So you're telling us that the victim, that Drew Misham, the victim, was a fake? Well, if he was the faked, who was the real forger? You better not claiming there was some kind of switcheroo. I'm afraid you're gonna have to back up your story. Mr. Justice, show us just who was the real Drew Misham was. If Drew Misham wasn't the real forger, there's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honor. Forger Drew Misham himself was himself a forgery. The real forger was... It would have to be her, wouldn't it? Because she's... Yeah.
Take that!
There can only be one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger, known as Drew Misham, is none other than his only daughter, Vera Misham. Order, order, order! Mr. Justice, this is going out on a limb, even for you. I kinda agree. I mean, Vera? A forger? Let's consider it before you write it off entirely. If you look at the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery had been taking place in that studio for quite some time. The forger wasn't caught in that trap 7 years ago. This can only mean that the one who was caught in the trap wasn't the forger. Well, actually, that does make a certain kind of sense. One more thing. Only 2 sets of fingerprints were found in the forger's studio. Drew Misham's and Vera Misham's. If we know that Drew Misham wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility by process of elimination. Forger was Vera Misham. Well? Fascinating. Vera Misham? You been paying attention to the trial so far? Let's just ask her and be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger, Drew Misham? Was that an expression of emotion I saw on her face? She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gavin's face. I'm used to being stared at by Fraulein's, believe me. But they usually talk to me, too. Tell us, were you the one who forged those works of art? Yes. So the forger, Drew Mishram, was you? Yes, it was me. What? What? The court was in an uproar, and it wasn't coming down. We had to break for a 10-minute recess. Wow. Alright, we're gonna call it there. That was a wild one. Alright. Alright. Anyways, I actually have to thank you, Marine, if you're still kicking about. Just because, like, you're talking to me kind of like it was the programmer's rubber duck, where it's like if you explain things, then maybe things will clue in. Second output wrong. No, you weren't. You weren't wrong. You just made me think about things. You questioned things, and that made me think about things. And I appreciate that. Uh, anyways, there's a raid message. Hope everybody takes care of themselves. Make me think about things too. Good, Gumbo. At least you think. Anyways, take care, everyone, and hope you have a good one.